So let's take a look at dismissive avoidant dating a fearful avoidant. Let me ask you a crazy question. Who wins in this relationship? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna trump who? And I know that's a crazy question, and you might think, well, aren't you both supposed to be winners in relationships? But I think in order to understand it better and to look at it from a different lens so that we get to the core of what these two people who have decided to date each other, what they're going to look like, who would win? Who would win in the end if they're little, because these are like defense mechanisms that are being activated. So if you want to remove yourself from a secure attachment style into one of these, somebody's going to be a winner. And I guarantee you at the end of this video, you're going to be able to pick a winner. Who wins the fight? Since you want to put your boxing gloves on, since you want to put your mask on, since you want to put your helmets and your defenses on and your knee pads on, somebody's going to win. And you're probably each going to pick somebody different as the winner. Because when you are stepping into your attachment style, basically you're putting on the boxing gloves. And we want to get the boxing gloves off, but we got to understand what's happening in this crazy dynamic because it's a little cray-cray. So let's break it on down, party people. There's a potential for these two to understand each other on one hand because they're both avoidants. Get away from me, stay away. I don't want to connect with you. But then there's a point of extreme frustration. So when you are fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment style, you're kind of on a seesaw. You go back and forth. And so that avoidant style, even though it's coming from somebody else, I'm dismissing and avoiding you, that can be very, very triggering to a fearful avoidant type. Even though they have that same thing in them, they do not react well to someone pushing them away, being distant, being cold. They don't respond well to that, although they can also tap into that style. And they kind of, I think, need to be triggered into that avoidance style. I think probably their natural state with the person that they're mating with, and in this case, they're mating with an avoidant type, they're going to lead more than likely with that, I need to be close to you, because the avoidant is going to trigger them into that, they're going to activate the fearful avoidance anxious side, the fearful side, which is come closer. Why are you running from me? You're making me nervous because you are ghosting me. You're not calling me back. There's no, the consistency is distance. Like, I don't hear from you for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. We seem to be vibing. Yay, we're connecting. And now you're not interested anymore. So then you're clicking them into that anxious state. So somebody who is an avoidant, a dismissive avoidant, dating a disorganized type, like the fearful avoidant, they might think that this is just an anxious, purely anxious type, at least for a while. They may think, oh my gosh, why do you want to talk to me? Why do you want to sit next to me? Why do you want to connect with me? Why do you want to hug me? Why do you want to spend time with me? Why are you freaking out? Why are you being so clingy? It's because your avoidance style is, your purely avoidant style is triggering me into that need for closeness. You're making me nervous. You're scaring me. No, seriously, that pure dismissive avoidant is scary to a disorganized style. And their defense mechanism is, I'm going to use both of these things to help me balance. But the problem is, it's like a seesaw. It's like you're over here on one side, then you're back over here on the other. So in order to calm myself down, now I got to switch over to the same thing that you're using, which is a dismissive avoidance style. So I'm going to mirror back to you what you're doing to me. I'm going to give that back to you. Why? Because I can't handle being anxious and nervous all the time. Where are you? Where are you going? When are you going to talk to me? Like, I can't follow that total coldness. Like, that's too much for me. So I'm going to give you a taste of your own medicine. Yeah, that's right. Now we're going to both be avoidance. Now we're going to both be on opposite sides of the couch. What are you doing? Nothing. How's your day? Fine. Do you want to eat? Yes. So I'm going to do you the same way that you're doing me, because I have another side of myself that I can tap into to make me feel what? To make me feel safe, because I can't stay in that anxious style all the time, or I'm going to shut down just like you, because I can't figure this out. We're the relationship, we ain't vibing. We're not connecting like we need to. This don't feel like a real relationship to me. So I'm going to go over into my corner, and now you're going to think that I'm the most boring person, because you're going to forget about the fun, the animated, the closeness, the hey, let's mate and relate. Now you're going to forget that that side of me even existed, and you're going to be looking at me like I'm looking at you, which is we're way pushed away into a corner. Don't touch me. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. Don't communicate with me. Because if you do, it makes me run. So now we're both giving each other a piece of ourselves that exists within both of us. So the tricky thing is that could also make an avoidant leave you, a dismissive avoidant ghost you as well, because you're giving them a taste of their own medicine. I think they're getting something out of being able to be the one that's running from you. But now that you're running from them, you're triggering something in them that they don't like, or it's waking up that part of them again that says, hey, I want to leave. Here's the thing about a dismissive avoidant. And of course, because fearful avoidants have this piece in themselves, they can also relate to this piece in certain circumstances. It could be at work, it could be with friends, it could be with relatives. There's a piece of them that wants to be, that feels overwhelmed. So no, they may not be anxious. They may not have that anxious style housed within them. But when you come too close to them and you're trying to connect to them, it makes them feel irritated, frustrated, annoyed. They want to also get away from that feeling. They're not trying to feel that way. It's just deep inside of their subconscious. This is how they cope. This is what they're feeling. They don't know why they have this feeling to get away from you. I need a break from your energy. I need to rejuvenate. I need to recharge. And this is not an introverted, extroverted thing. And that's why some extroverts think that they're introverts, is because they have an avoidant attachment style. So even though they may be like really energetic around a lot of people, when it comes to their relationships or romantic relationships, they have this, I don't want to talk. I don't want to connect. What's wrong with me? Why do I want you to get away from me when we're supposed to be loving to each other? And the more you come close to me or try to connect, the more frustrated and aggravated I feel. They don't know why they feel that way, but that is how an avoidant feels. And it's not you that's making them feel that way. It's their heart. It's their inner wiring that's making them feel that way. It doesn't mean that you're ugly. It doesn't mean that you're mean. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you're unintelligent. It doesn't mean that you're not a ton of fun and that you are not someone who could save the world someday, who is so beautiful and has a sense of style. Has nothing to do with that. So if you're dating somebody with this style, do not take it personally. And I know that's easier said than done, but the reason I say do not take it personally is because you could change your entire self because of how you were treated by an avoidant. And then the next person comes along who wants you for you. Where is the person that I could fall in love with? Well, you've shut that off because you've allowed an avoidant dismissive attachment style to teach you that there's something wrong with you, that you're not good enough, that you were rejected. So now you don't want to be rejected, so you change the core of who you are. Please do not do that. Please. You got to stay who you are. You got to get out a pen and paper and write down all the wonderful qualities about yourself and hold on tightly to those. So let me defend dismissive avoidance a little bit, because they're not bad people. And here's the thing, when you first start dating them, they might give you roses and flowers and chocolates and candies and reel you in and be romantic, and they might be quietly romantic, or they might take you on some great dates and try to be that great person. But over time, that starts to subside and they go into who they really are. And then you're like, well, where did the person that I was enjoying go? And they're like, I'm being who I really truly am with you now, which is I need a ton of space, because they felt overwhelmed at some point, probably in childhood. It's not their fault. They might have had a parent that was overly needy or overly huggy or overly save me because my marriage is bad, or I'm a single mom and I need you more and help out and give me lots of hugs, and you're not a naturally huggy person. And so now they have more control in their adult relationship, and they're like, I can't handle all that. It's too much. I need to retreat. I need to rejuvenate. I'm feeling anxious when you want to connect with me. They are not doing it to be mean or to be hurtful, or it's just, and somebody who is a fearful avoidant can relate to that. So even though you might be mad at that avoidant person, you have that within yourself. And you might be that way in your friendships or with extended family members, where you don't know why you feel like you need to get away to rejuvenate. And if anxious avoidant is dating somebody who is too clingy, they become avoidance, where they're like, get away from me, move away, like this is too much, like you're all on top of me, you want a lap dance, get off of me, like it's too much. So that's the tricky thing about a dismissive of anxious type, is they can kind of oscillate with both. So what is this relationship going to look like in a nutshell? Anxious avoidant is going to feel rejected and triggered by the avoidant style, and they're going to feel like they need more. And then eventually that can trigger them into an avoidant style where they are very withdrawn. They're not themselves anymore. They don't know who to be anymore. They don't know how to act. And so now you've got two people who are very standoffish. They're very cold towards each other. They're not connecting. One, because it's their complete natural state. The other one, it's because I don't want to be rejected anymore. So I'm just going to shut all the way down. So now what kind of relationship do you have? Disorganized attachment style or anxious avoidant style can be very confusing for someone to date, because they are all over the place in a sense, because they're trying to grab a hold of who they are, but it's oscillating. It's like a ping pong. Like, imagine you're hitting a ball from one side of the room to the other. You got to keep running to the other side to get the ball, to hit it back to the other side, then go back over there, and vice versa. And so they're kind of, they can get very confused with who they are. I think they can be a lot of fun. They're going to be your more interesting style if you like variety. If you like somebody who's multi-layered and has a ton of patterns, this is your person, because they're going to keep things interesting. If you like a little chaos, this is your person. They're going to keep things moving. They're going to be all over the place. They're going to be hyper with anxiety, and then depressed with an avoidant, style of get away from me. And then, but they're going to want and need security to quiet some of that down. That's what they're seeking. They're seeking somebody who's just stable, who's balanced, who's somewhere in the middle, who can give them a ton of reassurance, like, you're okay, everything's all right, we're going to be okay, because they're cycling in and out if they have a person that they're with who is on the opposite extreme. I think avoidants also need a certain level of reassurance. That's just my gut feeling, to say that they may need some space to come out of that. So if you are constantly putting the pressure of, where are you? Talk to me, interact with me, they've got to have some space to kind of come out of the shell. You might develop a pattern with them where they get to come, quote unquote, visit you in the house. Like maybe they rejuvenate in their little man cave for a while, and then they come down to where you are and give you hugs and kisses, and then go back and retreat. And so you want to kind of develop a pattern. I'd say you also want to kind of help them to develop a tolerance for interacting with you, and seeing that it's safe to come out of this closet. Perhaps you can develop some things that you do together, like maybe you have a designated game night where you play board games on Thursdays, and you kind of get them used to that pattern. That could help them because it gives them a sense of safety. I know what's happening on this night, I know what we're doing. So you got to kind of give them their space, but you got to kind of train them to connect with you also, and to enjoy the, okay, this isn't so bad. I'm used to this now. If avoidants don't get some kind of space, sometimes they can feel like they're going to go crazy. Like, I can't handle it. It's too much. So I think they are deserving of having some space so that they can feel okay again. But I think avoidance, you have to really develop that piece of you that wants to push away and stay with it, so that you can stretch yourself. Like, okay, this person is wanting some of my attention. Let me be as polite as I can. Let me be respectful. Let me stay on this ride for a little while because it's the right thing to do, because we're in a relationship. So you got to compromise sometimes and exercise that muscle a little bit. I'm going to use the word disorganized when I'm talking about the anxious avoidant because it's just easier. So the disorganized type may give way too much power to the avoidant. And I'm going to say something that's offensive about the avoidant, but avoidants are boring. And they could have the most outgoing, funnest personality in the whole entire world outside of that relationship. But they're actually dull when it comes to the actual relationship. They can tap into a very boring, dull, uninteresting, but because you are feeling so rejected, you give this dull, boring person way more power than they deserved. They're not entertaining you. They're not connecting with you. They're not showing you this amazing piece of themselves. They're being completely dull and uninteresting. So you're giving them way more power. That's what happens when they get into that defensive state, is they become actually quite dull. So you're chasing somebody who's really giving you nothing. They're not giving you much. But there is a component of the disorganized style that can tap into, hey, I understand how you feel because I actually feel the same way in a lot of different circumstances. So you got somebody who's giving you a taste of what you give to the world in other situations. So tap into your ability to be tolerant of that style and do something with that time. Craft. And I know people are like, well, when I'm in a relationship, I don't want to craft. I don't want to do extracurricular activities. I want that person. I get it. It's not the same. But you might need to tap into that piece of you that also needs some time away, some time to rejuvenate, some time to be in your own creative thoughts. And you have that ability. Let me wrap this up in a bow and give you a couple of things that perhaps I didn't give you. So when dismissive avoidants date anxious avoidants, there can be several problems that arise due to their differing attachment styles. Number one, emotional distance. Dismissive avoidants tend to avoid emotional intimacy and may have difficulty expressing their feelings. Anxious avoidants, on the other hand, may crave constant reassurance and attention. This difference in emotional needs can lead to conflict and frustration in the relationship. Two, communication issues. Dismissive avoidants may struggle with open communication and may be dismissive or avoidant of their partner's emotions and needs. Anxious avoidants may become overly anxious or clingy, seeking constant reassurance and validation. These communication styles can lead to misunderstandings and misinterpretations. Three, conflicting coping mechanisms. Dismissive avoidants often cope with stress or conflict by withdrawing or distancing themselves emotionally. Anxious avoidants, on the other hand, may become overwhelmed with anxiety and seek excessive reassurance or support. These conflicting coping mechanisms can lead to a cycle of push-pull dynamics and increased tension in the relationship. 4. Trust issues. Dismissive avoidants may struggle with trusting others and may have a fear of dependency. Anxious avoidants may have a fear of abandonment and may question their partner's commitment. These trust issues can create a lack of security and stability in the relationship. 5. Intimacy challenges. Dismissive avoidants may have difficulty with emotional intimacy, while anxious avoidants may have a fear of rejection or abandonment. These challenges can make it difficult for both partners to establish a deep and meaningful connection. Problem with a disorganized attachment style is they may desire intimacy and closeness, but also fear the vulnerability and potential rejection that comes with it. And so that's where things get complicated. So this is what this couple would look like in a nutshell. So we probably need to do another video where we talk more in depth about how do you handle this? Like how do you guys cope? How do you function together in a loving and healthy relationship? You can give me your ideas in the comments and let me know what you need from me, because I'm really bouncing off of y'all on this one because I'm trying to understand some things about it myself. So check out my 3 books that I've written to help all of us. 1 is Flip the Script on Love, all about love and relationships and making them better. 2, Workplace NaRCISSiST, all about mean, difficult people. Narcissists are not any of these attachment styles that you don't like. They're mean people, so you might be getting them confused. And then 3, I wrote a book about all the Myers-Briggs personality types because I love learning about people's personalities. So check those out, link in the description. And I'll see you guys on the next video. So make sure you're subscribed so we can figure this stuff out together. Bye.